McCall also admitted to molesting at least 5 girls under the age of 10 to include his 4-year-old daughter. He is convicted and sent to prison. So, chalk one up for the good guys. And these are all my cases that I've just had recently. Here's the best case of all, my all-time greatest ICAC case. Chad Pomeranke, he was suspected in molesting his 3-year-old daughter. He'd been charged 2 other times with rape of adult women. He'd beaten all of them. He'd never spent any time in jail. When he molested his 3-year-old daughter, if I brought the case file and you guys read it, you have the pitchforks ready to go string him up. He's guilty as sin. But it's so hard to convict somebody when the victim is 3 years old. You can't bring him in. You can't do a CARES interview. You better have an adult witness the act, or there better be a whole lot of evidence. So he skated on that. He skated on the 2 adult rapes. I come in, I get some files that he's downloading, serve the search warrant. We're finally able to send him to prison. The neatest thing about that is his niece, who he molested from when she was, I don't think that's in there, I never updated it. His niece, he molested his niece from when she was like 5 until she was like 13. Horrible abuse. She finally felt comfortable coming forward because he was in prison. That was neat. I got a good night's sleep that night. Because she finally felt like she was safe to come forward and talk to her mom about what was happening to her. So another one for the good guys. This one, and I just put 4/8 of 15, so just a few days ago. Idaho ICAC Task Force goes up to Idaho Falls. The suspect is ex-military, ex-law enforcement officer. On the outside, he's a hero. He was shot in the line of duty when he worked for Vegas. He worked for Vegas PD, and he was shot in the line of duty and retired. So on the outside, this guy's ex-military, ex-police officer, shot in the line of duty. By all aspects on the outside, you know, we're the good people in society, right? They serve a search warrant at his house for possession of child pornography. They find a hard drive where he's sexually molesting one of his children. 4 children are saved. That's a good case. That's what we dream about as ICAC investigators, to go in, kick in the door, do our interview, and save children. I wish we could do it more, but we've had some really good success over the years. How are we doing on time? 4:41, okay. So profile of the offender. Basically, it's any male between the ages of 13, 14, and death. I put 70 in there, because our oldest was 70, but it could be older. And you can kind of read down through there. Really, it's any male over the age of 14. We've had doctors, college. We had a BSU college professor 4 years ago, 5 years ago. He had we did a search warrant at his house. We did a search warrant on his office, and he had a drawer full of women's underwear. I don't know what that was all about. It was adult women, not for little girls. It just kind of weird out. Had the ponytail, you know, the Birkenstocks. That a cool look. Yeah. But we've had, I mean, every type, you know, in the horrible trailer parks in Garden City. I've been in CEO homes out in Harris Ranch, you know, $10 million homes. So there's no, when you say profile of the offender, there is no profile. It's males. That's who's doing it. And they come from all walks of life. Generally, the only thing that they really have in common is no criminal record. Pomeranke was the only one that had any type of criminal record, and I'm probably at over 100 search warrants. I probably put 90 plus guys in jail for this type of stuff. And Pomeranke had a little bit of a criminal history. The most we ever see is maybe a DUI, and, you know, maybe a petty theft when they were like 18 or 19, but for the most part, they have no criminal record whatsoever.
Can you expand on why that might be?
Yeah, and this is just guessing, you know, doing this for so long. But because they're not, for one, it's hard to find these guys. The chances of somebody doing this and getting caught is astronomical. It doesn't cross over into the other crimes that you generally see. if I have a substance abuse problem, you will see not only am I buying dope, am I in possession of dope, and when I say dope, I mean methamphetamine, marijuana, don't care about. When I talk about meth, when I talk about dope, it's methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, that kind of stuff. But if I'm an addict, you'll see those crimes carry over into DUIs. You'll see those carry over into thefts. You'll see those carry over into domestic abuse. This crime doesn't have those carryovers. Most crimes, if somebody is a criminal, they're a criminal and they'll do more than just one crime. This is hidden, it's secret, and not a lot of people even know that it's out there. So, and they're perceived as a good people in society because on the outside, like the last search warrant that we did up in Idaho Falls, they are. That's my best guess on that one. How big is Boise's problem? In 2013, there were approximately 4,000 active leads of individuals who are actively seeking, trading, and downloading child pornography in Boise alone. 4,000 active leads. Sir?
Yeah, I was wondering, do you guys have a public crime report from this specific department? An actual public?
Well, we put out, yes and no, we put out crime statistics, and I don't know when we do that. They send those out every once in a while to the media. Yeah. And this will be down in those numbers. It's not, I know, I probably serve anywhere between, I don't know, 10 and 15 search warrants a year for this type of stuff. Because each case that I get is 20 to 40 hours worth of work, and I got to fit it into the job that I already have as a neighborhood contact officer. So these cases, they, for the most part, aren't being investigated the way that they should be. I wish they were, but. So 4,000 active leads of individuals in 2013 seeking, trading, and downloading. The only word in here that I've never liked, and it just gets a little convoluted, individuals. I don't know, I know there's 4,000 active leads, but I don't know how many people are behind that. Most of the time when I look at a suspect, they'll have anywhere between 1 and maybe 3 or 4 IP addresses, and that's how we get our leads as IP addresses initially. The most I've seen is 20. So could there be 2,000 guys behind these 4,000 leads? Yeah. Could there be 400? Yeah. There's just no way to know. The only way I'd be able to know is to write a search warrant on every one of those 4,000 and then start doing the statistics that way. But there's a lot out there just in our little city alone. And this is just, this 4,000 number is just people that are trying to possess child pornography. It's not the chatting cases, and it's not a bunch of other ICAC cases that we deal with. These are the IP addresses. I put this on here just last night. These are the IP addresses in the city limits of Boise, Ada County really, that are currently trying to download child pornography. Just in Boise right here. That's it. In 24-hour period. That's just off of one system that I use. I have 3 of them up and running right now. I'd like to have 5. This is just one system that I use. Is there some crossover in the systems? Yeah. But let's just take these right here. So I get this. Let's start with this one, 712099974. And my undercover computer is saying, hey, Officer Phillips, this IP address is trading child pornography. I can take this IP address and look at a file list of the videos or pictures that he has. And then I can take that file list and I can compare it to my child pornography library. I have almost a terabyte of child pornography in my library. Because before I can write a search warrant on this IP address, I have to view the child pornography and be able to testify in court that, yeah, it's an underage person involved with a sexual act with an adult. So I take this IP address, I look at their file list, I compare it to the files that I have in my library. I write an administrative subpoena to Cable One or Quest, the 2 major internet providers here locally. They'll provide me with the subscriber information. John Smith at 123 Broadway Street. At that point, I have enough for a search warrant. And that's when I spend the next 10 hours writing probably 65 pages of legal mumbo jumbo, and I don't even understand. People say write this word here, and half the time I misspell stuff. And then I go serve the search warrant. What's the timeline? It's 20 to 40 hours for each one of these cases. I'm one investigator, one of three. Really, I'm only one. The other two, Jason Peters and Tim Brady, are responsible for the whole state of Idaho. I'm just responsible for Ada County. This many IP addresses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's almost a year's worth of work for me, because I just don't have the time. At the same time, I don't know if I have the mental capacity to do this type of stuff every single day for 10 hours. And we work 4 days on, 3 days off. So that's just in a 24-hour period how many IP addresses are trying to download child pornography. Could a suspect have 2 of these IP addresses? Yeah, if you know anything about IP addresses, you could have 2. We just don't know. But even if there's only 1 in a 24-hour period, that's way too much. If there's 1 a year, it's too much. Yes, ma'am?
I was just curious, how do you normalize that for yourself, having to watch that or deal with that or cope with that?
You know, most of it is drinking excessively. No. You know, we get that question a lot, and I don't know. I've never come up with a good answer. My best answer is, I honestly believe there are certain professions in this world, being a surgeon, being a nurse, being any type of first responder, that your job is going to take something from you. Whatever that is, it's going to take your soul, it's going to eat it. Whatever it is that makes us human, that makes me have empathy for you. And this job takes a lot of that. Part of my job is to make sure I put that stuff back. By going out and meeting with good people, by laughing a little bit, by spending time with my wife. All those things that make us normal. By chasing my kids around the house. And trying to put back whatever this job takes. I don't know what it is, I don't know how to quantify it, but it's a horrible job at times. And we laugh. Yeah, because what's the opposite of that? You're going to cry. And I don't know how many times I'm sitting there at 2, 3 in the morning when hopefully you guys are asleep. And they turn the light, in our department, it's always funny, they turn the lights off. They turn the lights off so we have to turn on our little desk lamps. You know, and you're sitting there at 2 in the morning. And I have 2 screens. One screen has the videos, and then one screen is my report, and I'm trying to watch the video and describe it, you know, for my report. Those nights are tough. They are. But, you know, you get home, your wife yells at you for leaving the toilet seat up, and, you know, the dog's barking, and everything becomes normal again, so. We'll start moving quicker. So is there a connection between hands-on offenses? Absolutely. And I always tell people, if I came over to your house, whatever your name is, what's your name? Erin. If I come over to Erin's house and I get on her computer and there's model trains all over she's got pictures of model trains, movies of model trains, screen captures of model trains, and I looked at Erin and I go, hey Erin, where's your model trains? She's like, I don't like model trains. What? You have this crap all over your computer and you don't like model trains? You have model trains in your house. So if I have somebody that's downloading child pornography, masturbating to child pornography, do you think they're interested in touching a kid? Absolutely. And I always thought it was sort of a progression. I always thought that, you know, somebody's sitting behind their computer and they see, I don't know, a 13-year-old, and they're like, ooh, that's kind of hot. And then they see an 8-year-old, they're like, ooh, that's still pretty hot too. And then they start downloading. And then they go find their victim. What we found out is by the time they've gotten to the point that they're downloading this type of stuff, they've already had at least one victim in their past. And they generally will use child pornography between the victims. Sort of, you know, kind of keep their interest peak or however you want to look at it. So there's a huge correlation between somebody that possesses this type of stuff and hands-on offenses. Real quick, a quick study. They talked about in the video, Butner, North Carolina. The first one was the Hernandez study back in 2000. These guys were in prison. They took 62 child pornography offenders. Basically, they went to them and they said, hey, we're going to interview you, hook you up to a polygraph. We're not going to hold anything over your head. We're not going to prosecute you for it. This is just for a study. So out of the 62, 80% admitted to molesting a child. There were 30.5 undetected victims each at the time of the arrest, after they hooked him up to the polygraph and asked him questions. So Hernandez's study comes out. It was never meant to be published because there were some problems with the methodology or something. I don't understand it. I'm not a college professor. Not very smart. So Hernandez hooks up with Dr. Burke, and they redo the study in 2006 because they want to publish it. So they find 155 child pornography offenders. These guys have no hands-on offenses. They were just there for possessing the computer stuff. That's it. So they hooked them up to the polygraph. 85% admitted to molesting a child. 13% denied molesting and then failed the poly. And 2% could honestly say they did not have any victims but were looking for a chance. I don't know, the math is about 100%, roughly. And it just goes to show if you come over to my house and you get on my computer, I guarantee you're going to see, you know, like the Broncos and the Washington Redskins and sports stuff. And you're going to go, hey, you like sports? I'm going to go, well, yeah, it's on my computer. So there's a huge correlation between the hands-on stuff and the computer stuff. And what's cool, when we first started talking about this, if I go to court, I'm the expert. I don't need that 5-year-old kid. I don't have to put him up on the stand and make him relive it and have him cross-examine, because they cross-examine me. And I don't have to put them through that again. That's why these investigations are so great, because we don't have to victimize children again to put the bad guy in jail. So there's a huge correlation. That's that. Here's some facts. 84% of child sexual abuse victims don't disclose the abuse. And we're talking about sexual abuse, not to get away from the computer stuff for a minute. On average, an offender will abuse a child for 13.4 years before getting caught. This year alone, there will be 400,000 babies born in the U.S. that will become victims of child abuse unless we do something to stop it. Reported rates for child sexual abuse is 1 in 10 or 10%. It's different than the 25% that I was talking about. This is the stuff that comes to the attention of law enforcement. We know it's way higher when they do studies and they talk to adults and it's self-reporting. The rates are always higher. So that's why that's 1 in 10. That's the stuff that comes to us as law enforcement. Average time served is 7 years. Statistically, the chances, I go out and I find a victim, family member, neighbor, and I'm talking about a child, and I molest that child, the chances of me getting caught are astronomical. The chances of me spending any time in jail is astronomical. And if I do spend some time in jail, the average time served is 7 years. So if it's hard to catch these guys, it's hard to get them in prison, why not go do it if that's your thing? The chances of getting caught are so slim. And hopefully there's me out there downloading your IP address and getting in. So does counseling work? We'll skip this, it doesn't. There's no norm treatment. Here's the best reality check for does counseling work. 63% of professionals reported little hope for a cure, and 88% of professionals fear recidivism after treatment. Counseling doesn't work. If you are sexually attracted to children, you're going to be sexually attracted to children when you die. And I can prove this. Everybody in this room is sexually attracted to males or females. I don't care which. I'm attracted to females. If I live to be 90, I am still going to be sexually attracted to females. If I make it to 110, guess what? I'm still going to be sexually attracted to females. I might not be able to do anything with them, but I'm still going to be, and that's the same way. If you're sexually attracted to this projector, you're going to be sexually attracted to this projector forever. Nothing's going to work. No counseling is going to work. Because you got boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever. That girlfriend or that boyfriend, when you see him, that little excitement gets going in your belly. And even when I see my wife after 19 years, I still feel that little excitement. You know, the little fluttering in your belly. And that's always going to be there for a female. Hopefully my wife is probably going to leave me. She's smart. But that's always going to be there. So you could counsel I could have all the counseling in the world, and ain't going to change the fact that I'm sexually attracted to my wife and general females. So that's why counseling doesn't work. If any of you are in counseling, it doesn't work. Pick a new major. I could say it differently. Now, you know what? I go see a counselor once, twice a year. It's a good little checkup for me. I like her. She's great. It's not a fit for duty. It's not something that they're going to report back to my department. She basically is there to make sure I'm mentally, healthy. So I look forward to those. It's something that we have advocated for years for ICAC investigators. So she's great. So I make a little joke about counselors, specifically about that type of stuff. Counselors are great, and she's awesome. Less than 1% of known child pornography offenses are currently investigated due to lack of resources. Truth is, we're understaffed and underfunded. There's some support, but not a lot. Here's a picture of the city limits of Boise. The red dots represent registered sex offenders. We got a lot of them in Boise. A whole lot. How are we doing on time? Time check.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Holy cow, watch how fast I'll talk. Okay. All right, each one is a red dot. That's a lot, right? A lot of registered sex offenders. Okay, look at this one. This is my 4,000 active leads.
Oh, God.
Where do you want your children, grandchildren, or your niece, nephews? This is the runway, I think, out here. So you could have like little Mary and little Bobby running around the runway. Plane comes in. But that's kind of just a visual representation on how big the problem is. And it's not Boise. We don't live in a town with, a whole lot of perverts. You girls are like, yeah, you do. But we don't. No more than any other city. So don't worry about that. Here's the coolest slide of all. In the past 20 months, the members of the ICAC task force in the Treasure Valley, that's me, have been involved in the rescue of 37 victims. And the youngest was 18 months old. That's cool. I love my job.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a neat job. So what can you do to help? That ICAC Foundation we started a couple years ago, you can go and give money, and we spend it on sports cars. The biggest one is call your local representatives, city, county, state, let them know you support ICAC investigators. And I'll leave you with this. Letter from a child pornography victim. This was read and testimony before Congress, April 6, 2006. When I was a little girl and when I was being photographed and raped, I used to try to send a message with my eyes down the lens and hope that one day a good person might see and come help us. Man, that's tough. I've given this, I'm not kidding, I've given this presentation 100 times. That's been in there since, I can barely read that. And I've read that thing 500 times. I barely read that. And I think that I've just made you guys really happy, huh? Questions, comments, concerns? Anything? Did you guys learn something? Hope?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you to this. Children have never grown up in a safer society. Rates of sexual abuse, reported sexual abuse is down. Kids have never been this safe, but there's still a ton to do. If I have one guy downloading child pornography in the city limits of Boise, it's still one too many. Would I be happy if there was only one? Absolutely. I know there's a whole lot more because I have 3 search warrants that need to be written. Also leave you this, if anybody ever thought about being a police officer, it's the greatest job in the world. The Boise Police Department is always hiring. So there you go. Thank you for your time.